This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build your online presence and run your business. This is Fujifilm's new flagship camera, the XH2s, a photo and video hybrid a lot of people were anticipating. Have they delivered? It wouldn't be reasonable for me to share a proper review, and I can't talk about things like reliability. I only used the camera for a few days in total, so all I can give you is my initial impressions. Fujifilm have not paid me for this video, but they did send me the XH2s and the 33mm 1.4. This was actually organised by Castle Cameras down in Bournemouth. They're a great online shop and they made the connection for Fujifilm to send me the gear for me to use. So if you're buying any gear online, check out what Castle Cameras have got going on. And it might be worth mentioning that all my opinions here are coming from someone who uses a Canon R6 pretty much on a daily basis. The first thing I noticed about the camera was just how nice it felt in my hands. The grip was chunky and the body felt solid. As someone that uses a full frame mirrorless like the Canon R6, it felt nice to use something a little bit bigger that would fill my grip. For example, the Sony A7 series has an awful grip and my pinky kind of slips off all the time. I've always assumed Canon were way better ergonomically than Sony, but after using this Fujifilm camera, I have to say they're on par with Canon, and maybe this XH2s feels a little bit nicer. My main point here is I don't think smaller cameras is necessarily the way forward. Our hands as human beings are never going to change size, and having a piece of equipment that fills your hands and feels comfortable is very important. Now obviously travel cameras, pocketable cameras like the X100V and the Ricoh, they're going to be small because they fit that purpose. But a professional tool like the XH2s actually feels nice in my hands, and I wish more cameras were like that. The design of the strap hoops is also something I haven't seen before. They sit a little more flush and within the camera design. I mean, it's only a 1% detail, but I liked it. Pretty much half of the setting styles on this camera are actually custom options. As someone that uses the R6 for photo and video, it's a little bit annoying that I can't save custom video options. But with the XH2s, you've got 7 choices for custom settings. Because this gear will be used by working professionals, I can see this little touch being super convenient. And I have to be honest, after just a couple of days of using this camera and then going back to my R6, I felt like my R6 was missing something. I will be posting all of the images I got with this camera on my website as a blog post if you wanted to see the photos in much better quality. If you wanted a place to host your portfolio or a gallery of images like I have, then Squarespace is the perfect option. Creating and designing your own portfolio is an absolute breeze with Squarespace. I've been using them for years as the place to showcase my work, sell presets, and even create blogs, like I have done for this review. From brilliant template designs to simple drag and drop features, it's never been easier to create your own little corner of the internet. Having your work displayed exactly how you want is important as a photographer. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Mike Chudley to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. I realise this camera isn't specifically designed for street photography, but that's where I tested it the most, so I'll share my brief experience. The camera was very quick to use, from turning it on to shooting spontaneous street moments, to snapping focus in different locations. The camera did exactly what I wanted it to do. The 33mm 1.4 that Fujifilm also sent me has a big part to play in this. The autofocus was super quick, super smooth, but also the image quality and just the street photos I got in general from this camera all look outstanding. Saying that, when you're paying over £2,000 for a camera, that's what I expect. You expect good quality images, obviously. At the time of recording this, Fuji have announced the XH2, which does have a 40 megapixel sensor compared to this 24 megapixel sensor. So if you did want a bigger sensor for portraits or landscapes, for example, then maybe the XH2 is the one. There's nothing massively controversial or surprising about my experience with regards to street photography. The camera delivered exactly as I expected, and it was easy to use. If I had to compare photos from the R6 R6 with the XH2s, I'd just be straightforward and say I probably can't tell a difference, and you watching this video, you probably won't be able to tell a difference. They're both great cameras, and when you spend a certain amount of money on a camera, you're just going to get a good result, hopefully, if you're a good photographer. But I'm not going to pixel peep. The images from the XH2s were brilliant, but you're probably going to get that wherever you decide to spend over £2,000. The reason for someone making a decision to buy this XH2s would be for Fuji's new subject tracking and the super fast 40 frames per second burst mode. Wildlife photographers, sports photographers, they're going to love that, but maybe watch a more comprehensive review elsewhere, because I haven't tested it really, but I'm sure it's great. I have to be totally honest here, but the 6K video that I filmed on this camera was absolutely beautiful. I would go as far as saying it produces some of the best looking video I've ever seen from a camera at this price point. The dynamic range was instantly noticeable, and that's where I can see the reason for its price. This is an APS-C sensor, which means it probably won't handle low light situations as well as a full frame sensor, like the Canon R6 for example, which is at a similar price range. I didn't put the XH2s through any serious low light situations, so I can't give you an analysis on it. I'm sure it's probably fine, but that's something you have to weigh up with full frame versus APS-C. The full frame has way more capabilities in low light situations, but I don't want this to be a APS-C versus full frame video. It's just something to keep in mind. This camera at the end of the day is still APS-C. Now that has its pros, but it's not got the capabilities of full frame, so you just got to think about that. I know this camera also films internal RAW ProRes, and please go watch a much nerdier, more educated review if you want details on that. The honest answer here is I didn't have a CF Express card that was big enough to film anything worthwhile, so I didn't even bother. All of the footage I got was in 6K, all-I, 442, 10-bit. I think I might have got some numbers wrong there, but yeah, the video was outstanding is my point here, and I didn't even get to test it at its full capabilities. Something else Fujifilm have over other brands is their film simulations, which is technically just a picture profile on steroids. All of the footage I filmed with the camera was in Eterna Cinema film simulation, so everything you're looking at was straight from the camera with that look, which to be honest with you is probably better than my attempt at trying to grade f-log. The Ibis on this camera also worked really nicely. I personally don't mind a bit of natural handheld movement. I want it to look like a human being has filmed it. I don't actually like gimbal footage, for example. It makes me feel a bit sick because it's almost too smooth, just personal preference. So when I'm using a camera, I don't mind a little bit of natural movement. That's as technical as I'll get on the video specs, but there are many new upgrades and features on this camera that Fujifilm were slacking with their previous models. That makes this a serious upgrade for any Fuji users wanting professional video at a £2,500 price point. If I was only doing photography and maybe dabbled in video, I think you could get the same quality images from a cheaper camera, maybe the X-T4 for example. But if you did need some of the more extensive features like 40 frames per second burst mode, then that's a reason to buy a camera like this. If you was using an X-T4 or something of a similar level from another brand, and you did feel like you were slacking on the video front, then this is where this camera really shines. Going one step further, if you are taking video even more seriously over the photography part, then the new XH2 might be the better option, as it films in 8K and it's actually cheaper than the XH2s, so go figure. My honest thoughts here is that the XH2s just feels like a tool. It's a very capable piece of equipment that will get the job done, just like my R6 or just like a Sony a7 IV. Wherever you decide to spend £2,500, you're going to get a good piece of kit. Even though the video, like I said, was probably the nicest bit of video footage I've seen from a camera at this price point, it's still just opinion at that point. Footage from any camera at £2,500 is going to be great, and photos from any camera at £2,500 are going to be great. I think you get my point here. I know this kind of makes this emotionless, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what camera you're buying. You get my point. It's a camera that's going to get the job done. Let's put a full stop on that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, so please click that big red button, leave a like and a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.